Daniel Kahneman is an Israeli-American psychologist. He shared the 2002 Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences with Vernon L. Kahneman is notable for his work on the psychology of judgment and decision-making, behavioral economics and hedonic psychology. With Amos Tversky and others, Kahneman established a cognitive basis for common human errors which arise from heuristics and biases, and developed prospect theory. He was awarded the 2002 Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics for his work in prospect theory. In 2011, he was named by Foreign Policy magazine to its list of top global thinkers. In the same year, his book Thinking, Fast and Slow, which summarizes much of his research, was published and became a bestseller. Currently, he is Professor Emeritus of Psychology and Public Affairs at Princeton University's Woodrow Wilson School. Kahneman is a founding partner of TGG Group, a business and philanthropy consulting company. He is married to Royal Society fellow Anne Treisman. Biography: Daniel Kahneman was born in Tel Aviv in 1934, where his mother was visiting relatives. He spent his childhood years in Paris, France, where his parents had emigrated from Lithuania in the early 1920s. Kahneman and his family were in Paris when it was occupied by Nazi Germany in 1940. His father was picked up in the first major roundup of French Jews, but he was released after 6 weeks due to the intervention of his employer. The family was on the run for the remainder of the war, and it survived intact except for the death of Kahneman's father due to diabetes in 1944. Daniel Kahneman and his family then moved to British Mandatory Palestine in 1948, just before the creation of the State of Israel. Kahneman has written of his experience in Nazi-occupied France, explaining in part why he entered the field of psychology. It must have been late 1941 or early 1942. Jews were required to wear the Star of David and to obey a 6 p.m. curfew. I had gone to play with a Christian friend and had stayed too late. I turned my brown sweater inside out to walk the few blocks home. As I was walking down an empty street, I saw a German soldier approaching. He was wearing the black uniform that I had been told to fear more than others, the one worn by specially recruited SS soldiers. As I came closer to him, trying to walk fast, I noticed that he was looking at me intently. Then he beckoned me over, picked me up, and hugged me. I was terrified that he would notice the star inside my sweater. He was speaking to me with great emotion, in German. When he put me down, he opened his wallet, showed me a picture of a boy, and gave me some money. I went home more certain than ever that my mother was right. People were endlessly complicated and interesting. Kahneman received his Bachelor of Science degree with a major in psychology and a minor in mathematics from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in 1954. After earning his undergraduate degree, he served in the psychology department of the Israeli Defense Forces. One of his responsibilities was to evaluate candidates for officers' training school, and to develop tests and measures for this purpose. In 1958, he went to the United States to study for his Ph.D. in psychology from the University of California at Berkeley. Daniel Kahneman is married to Anne Treisman, a fellow professor of psychology at Princeton University. Academic career: Cognitive psychology. Kahneman began his academic career as a lecturer in psychology at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in 1961. He was promoted to senior lecturer in 1966. His early work focused on visual perception and attention. For example, his first publication in the prestigious journal Science was entitled Pupil Diameter and Load on Memory. During this period, Kahneman was a visiting scientist at the University of Michigan and the Applied Psychology Research Unit in Cambridge. He was a fellow at the Center for Cognitive Studies and a lecturer in psychology at Harvard University in 1966–1967. Judgment and decision-making: this period marks the beginning of Kahneman's lengthy collaboration with Amos Tversky. Together, Kahneman and Tversky published a series of seminal articles in the general field of judgment and decision-making, culminating in the publication of their prospect theory in 1979. Kahneman was awarded the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics in 2002 for his work on prospect theory. In his Nobel biography, Kahneman states that his collaboration with Tversky began after Kahneman had invited Tversky to give a guest lecture to one of Kahneman's seminars at Hebrew University in 1968 or 1969. Their first jointly written paper, Belief in the Law of Small Numbers, was published in 1971. They published 7 articles in peer-reviewed journals in the years 1971 and 1979. Aside from prospect theory, the most important of these articles was Judgment Under Uncertainty, Heuristics and Biases, which was published in the prestigious journal Science and introduced the notion of anchoring. Kahneman left Hebrew University in 1978 to take a position at the University of British Columbia. This move had little or no immediate effect on his collaborations with Tversky, for Tversky moved on to Stanford University that same year. Behavioral economics. Kahneman and Tversky were both fellows at the Center for Advanced Study in the Behavioral Sciences at Stanford University in the academic year 1977 and 1978. A young economist named Richard Thaler was a visiting professor at the Stanford branch of the National Bureau of Economic Research during that same year. According to Kahneman, Thaler and I soon became friends, and have ever since had a considerable influence on each other's thinking. Building on prospect theory and Kahneman and Tversky's body of work, Thaler published Toward a Positive Theory of Consumer Choice in 1980, a paper which Kahneman has called the founding text in behavioral economics. Kahneman and Tversky both became heavily involved in the development of this new approach to economic theory, and their involvement in this movement had the effect of reducing the intensity and exclusivity of their earlier period of joint collaboration. They would continue to publish together until the end of Tversky's life, but the period when Kahneman published almost exclusively with Tversky ended in 1983, when he published 2 papers with Anne Treisman, his wife since 1978. Hedonic Psychology. In the 1990s, Kahneman's research focus began to gradually shift in emphasis towards the field of hedonic psychology. This subfield is closely related to the positive psychology movement, which was steadily gaining in popularity at the time. According to Kahneman and colleagues, hedonic psychology is the study of what makes experiences and life pleasant or unpleasant. It is concerned with feelings of pleasure and pain, of interest and boredom, of joy and sorrow, and of satisfaction and dissatisfaction. It is also concerned with the whole range of circumstances, from the biological to the societal, that occasion suffering and enjoyment. It is difficult to determine precisely when Kahneman's research began to focus on hedonics, although it likely stemmed from his work on the economic notion of utility. After publishing multiple articles and chapters in all but one of the years spanning the period 1979 and 1986, Kahneman published exactly 1 chapter during the years 1987 and 1989. After this hiatus, articles on utility and the psychology of utility began to appear. In 1992, Tversky and Kahneman introduced the method of evaluating moments and episodes as a way to capture experiences extended across time. While Kahneman continued to study decision-making, hedonic psychology was the focus of an increasing number of publications, culminating in a volume co-edited with Ed Diener and Norbert Schwartz, Scholars of Affect and Well-Being. Together with David Schcade, Kahneman developed the notion of the focusing illusion to explain in part the mistakes people make when estimating the effects of different scenarios on their future happiness. The illusion occurs when people consider the impact of one specific factor on their overall happiness. They tend to greatly exaggerate the importance of that factor, while overlooking the numerous other factors that would in most cases have a greater impact. A good example is provided by Kahneman and Schcade's 1998 paper Does Living in California Make People Happy? A focusing illusion in judgments of life satisfaction. In that paper, students in the Midwest and in California reported similar levels of life satisfaction, but the Midwesterners thought their Californian peers would be happier. The only distinguishing information the Midwestern students had when making these judgments was the fact that their hypothetical peers lived in California. Thus, they focused on this distinction, thereby overestimating the effect of the weather in California on its residents' satisfaction with life. Teaching. Kahneman is currently a senior scholar and faculty member emeritus at Princeton University's Department of Psychology and Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs. He is also a fellow at Hebrew University and a Gallup senior scientist. Personal: Kahneman is married to the award-winning cognitive psychologist Anne Treisman. They live in Berkeley, California, during the summer. Awards and recognition: in 2002, Kahneman received the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics, despite being a research psychologist, for his work in prospect theory. Kahneman states he has never taken a single economics course, that everything that he knows of the subject he and Tversky learned from their collaborators Richard Thaler and Jack Netsch. Kahneman, co-recipient with Tversky, earned the 2003 University of Louisville Gruemier Award for Psychology. In 2007, he was presented with the American Psychological Association's Award for Outstanding Lifetime Contributions to Psychology. On November 6, 2009, he was awarded an honorary doctorate from the Department of Economics at Erasmus University in Rotterdam, Netherlands. In his acceptance speech, Kahneman said, "When you live long enough, you see the impossible become reality." He was referring to the fact that he would never have expected to be honored as an economist when he started his studies into what would become behavioral economics. In both 2011 and 2012, he made the Bloomberg 50 Most Influential People in Global Finance. On November 9, 2011, he was awarded the Talsott Parsons Prize by the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. To see his lecture, click the link below. His book, Thinking, Fast and Slow, was the winner of the 2011 Los Angeles Times Book Award for Current Interest. In 2012, his book, Thinking, Fast and Slow, was awarded the National Academy of Sciences Communication Award for the best book published in 2011. In 2012, he was accepted as corresponding academician at the Real Academia Aspar +/- On August 8, 2013, President Barack Obama announced that Daniel Kahneman would be a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Notable contributions. Published works: the following is a partial list of publications. Papers: Kahneman, D. Beatty, J. Pupil diameter and load on memory. Science 154, 1583–1585. doi, 10.1126/science. 154-3756, 1583. PMIDA 5,924,930. Tversky, A. Kahneman, D. Belief in the Law of Small Numbers. Psychological Bulletin 76, 105–110 doi, 10.1037/00313222. Kahneman, D. Tversky, A Subjective Probability, A Judgment of Representativeness. Cognitive Psychology 3, 430–454 doi, 10.1016/0010-0285, 72, 90016-3. Kahneman, D. Attention and Effort. Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, Prentice Hall. Kahneman, D. Tversky, On the Psychology of Prediction. Psychological Review 80, 237–251 doi, 10.1037/00034747. Tversky, A. Kahneman, D. Availability, A Heuristic for Judging Frequency and Probability. Cognitive Psychology 5, 207–232 doi, 10.1016/0010-0285, 73, 90033-9. Tversky, A. Kahneman, D. Judgment Under Uncertainty, Heuristics and Biases. Science 185, 1124–1131. doi, 10.1126/science. 185-4157-1124. PMIDA 17,835,457. Kahneman, D. Tversky, A Prospect Theory, An Analysis of Decisions Under Risk. Econometrica 47, 263–291 doi, 10.2307/1,914,185. JSTORA 1914185. Kahneman, D. Tversky, A Prospect Theory, An Analysis of Decisions Under Risk. Econometrica 47, 313 Euro 327 doi, 10.2307/1914185. Tversky, A. Kahneman, D. The Framing of Decisions and the Psychology of Choice. Science 211, 453 Euro 458 doi, 10.1126/Science 7455683. PMIDA 7455683. Kahneman, D. Tversky, A Choices, Values and Frames. American Psychologist 39, 341 Euro 350 doi, 10.1037/003-066x39.4.341. Kahneman, D. Miller, D.T. Norm Theory, Comparing Reality to Its Alternatives. Psychological Review 93, 136 Euro 153 doi, 10.1037/0033-295x93.2.136. Kahneman, D. Nech, J.L. Thaler, R.H. Experimental Tests of the Endowment Effect and the Coase Theorem. Journal of Political Economy 98, 1325 Euro 1348. doi, 10.1086/261737. Fredrickson, B.L. Kahneman, D. Duration Neglect in Retrospective Evaluations of Affective Episodes. Journal of Personality and Social Psychology 65, 45 Euro 55 doi, 10.1037/022-3514.65.1.45. PMIDA 8355141. Kahneman, D. Lovelo, D. Timid Choices and Bold Forecasts, A Cognitive Perspective on Risk-Taking. Management Science 39, 17 Euro 31 doi, 10.1287/MNSC 39.1.17. Kahneman, D. Tversky, On the Reality of Cognitive Illusions. Psychological Review 103, 582 Euro 591 doi, 10.1037/0033-295x103.3.582. PMIDA 8759048. Schkade, D.A. Kahneman, D. Does Living in California Make People Happy? A Focusing Illusion in Judgments of Life Satisfaction. Psychological Science 9, 340 Euro 346 doi, 10.1111/1467-9280.00066. Kahneman, D., Diener, E., and Schwartz, N. Well-Being, The Foundations of Hedonic Psychology. New York, Russell Sage Foundation. Kahneman, D. A Perspective on Judgment and Choice, Mapping Bounded Rationality. American Psychologist 58, 697 Euro 720 doi, 10.1037/0003-066x58.9.697. PMIDA 14584987. Kahneman, D. Kruger, A. Schkade, D. Schwartz, N. Stone, A. Would you be happier if you were richer? A Focusing Illusion. Science 312, 1908 Euro 10 doi, 10.1126/Science 1129688. PMIDA 16809528. Kahneman, D. Maps of Bounded Rationality, A Perspective on Intuitive Judgment and Choice. In T. Frangsmy, Les Prix Nobel 2002, Nobel Prizes 2002. Stockholm, Sweden, Arnquist and Weichsel International. Note that this chapter has two sections, the first is an autobiography, and the second is a transcript of his Nobel lecture, which is what the title refers to. The autobiographical portion has been republished as, Kahneman, D. Daniel Kahneman. in G. Lindsay and W. M. Runyon, A History of Psychology in Autobiography, Volume 9. Washington, D.C., American Psychological Association. It is also available on the Nobel Prize website. Professor Paul Bloom, Yale University 2008, Yale Open Course, Introduction to Psychology, Lecture 10 Transcript, Books, Kahneman, D. Thinking, Fast and Slow, Farah, Strauss and Giroux, ISBN 978-0374275631. Kahneman, D. Thinking Fast and Slow, Allen Lane 2011, Kahneman, D., and Tversky, A. Choices, Values and Frames. New York, Cambridge University Press. Kahneman, D., Slovic, P., and Tversky, A. Judgment Under Uncertainty, Heuristics and Biases. New York, Cambridge University Press. Interviews, Can We Trust Our Intuitions? In Alex Varro with Conversations on Ethics. Oxford University Press, 2009. ISBN 978-0-19-921537-9, Radio Interviews, All in the Mind, ABC, Australia, All in the Mind, BBC, Great Britain, Online Interviews, Thinking About Thinking an interview with Daniel Kahneman, 1, Television Interviews, How You Really Make Decisions, Horizon, Series 2013 to 2014 No. 9, Bibliography. See also: List of economists, List of Jewish Nobel laureates, References. External links, Official website, Kahneman's resume, Works by or about Daniel Kahneman in libraries, Maps of Bounded Rationality 2002 lecture at nobelprize.org, Profile and papers at Research Papers in Economics, Lecture on the Riddle of Experience versus Memory at TED, February 2010, Teller Exploits Fast Thinking, Talsot Parsons Prize Ceremony and Address, Two Systems of the Mind, Review, Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, 2012 Singularity Summit Q&A with Kahneman on Fora TV, Daniel Kahneman. The Concise Encyclopedia of Economics. Library of Economics and Liberty 2008a.